In this video, we are going to continue our top interview questions of web development that are asked in 2023. So without wasting the time, let's get started. So the first question in the row we have is, what are the main differences between SOAP and REST APIs? Okay, so let's see what we have. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. So protocol are nothing but set of rules. Okay, so SOAP is a protocol, is nothing but a set of rules. SOAP uses XML for its message format. This is the main thing that you should highlight. And SOAP uses HTTP or SMTP for transport, for message transport. Okay, whatever we are using. And SOAP messages tends to be more verbose due to the use of XML. So the word verbose means lengthy because the use of XML makes the messages lengthy or long. Okay. So now let's see REST APIs. So REST stands for Representational State Transfer. Okay. REST is a architectural style. Okay. And REST can use multiple formats such as XML, JSON, or plain text for its message format. Okay. And REST primarily uses HTTP for transport. And SOAP, we have seen that SOAP can use HTTP or SMTP. Okay. And REST messages can be more concise in comparison to SOAP. This is the main differences between the SOAP and REST APIs. Let's move ahead and now let's see our next question that we have in the row. And the next question we have is, what is the difference between SVG and Canvas? So while in some cases when you will be developing some projects, you will encounter different types of image, like some are JPG, some are SVG, some are Canvas. So these are some different types of images that you will encounter. Okay, and SVG and Canvas are those main types. Okay, now let's see the differences between them. Now SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. Okay, SVG is a vector based image format. So the SVG images are very lightweight and very easy to transport, very scalable. Okay, so when you will be displaying some icons, some basic icons like add, delete. So these kind of icons are usually vector based or SVG. Okay. So SVG images can be scaled up or down to any extent without losing image quality. That's the main power of SVG. And SVG gives better performance with a small number of objects or larger surface because it can be extended or it can be scaled up easily. Okay. SVG can be modified through the script and CSS. See, this is the main one of the main point, like SVG can be modified through script and CSS both. So this is the main thing that you have to consider. Now let's see Canvas images. Okay. So Canvas is a raster based format. Okay. And Canvas images have poor scalability. That means they cannot be scaled up or scaled down. Otherwise, because if we try to scale them up or down, they will lose their quality. This is the main issue with the Canvas images. Canvas gives better performance with a small surface or a large number of objects. Okay, this is one of the main point. And one of the main differences is Canvas can be modified through script only. Okay. In previous SVG, we have seen that SVG can be modified with both script and CSS. Okay. So now let's move ahead and let's see next question that we have. So the next question is, what are the three main methods of using CSS? Or we can say, what are the three methods of importing CSS in your web dev project? Okay. So you might have imported your CSS in various ways. So this question is asking the three methods of importing CSS or using the CSS in your project. I think you might have got the question, right? So now let's see what we have. So the first method is inline CSS. In inline CSS is used to apply a unique style to a single HTML element. Okay, it is defined within the tag itself. like it is stating that it is defined within the style attribute of the relevant element. You might have seen that you declare an element, and inside the element itself you declare some styling. So that way of using the CSS is known as inline CSS. Okay, so now let's see the next method that we have. So the next main method is internal CSS. So what is internal CSS? Internal CSS is used to define a style for a single HTML page. Okay, it is defined within the style element located inside the head section of a HTML page. So what does it mean? So while developing a website, you might have done one thing, like you write the whole HTML code, and after writing the whole HTML code, you might have done the styling inside the head tag. In head tag, you might have used the style tag, right, in which you have written the all the styling. So that method of writing the CSS inside the head of HTML page is known as internal CSS. Okay, in which you write the CSS of whole page in just one style tag in the head section. Right? I think you remember what I'm saying. So this is the second main method of using CSS. But yeah, I will say it is not the most popular method that is used. So now let's see the most popular method of using and importing the CSS in our project. So the main method of using the CSS is known as external CSS. In external CSS is used to define a style that can be used across multiple pages. It is defined in an external style sheet which is linked to the HTML document using the link element. So in some cases you have done one thing, like for your project you write HTML in separate file and you write CSS styling in separate file. What you have done in that separate CSS file, you write all the styling, like this is the border color, this is the background color, this is the different styling. So in that separate CSS file you might have written all the stylings, and after then in your main HTML page you might have linked that styling using the link element. I think you remember what I'm saying. So this is the most used uh, method of importing CSS in your project. So this is the main widely used method in which all the CSS is written in external file and it is linked using the link element in the HTML document. So this is the main method that is used across good projects. Okay. So one more thing that here is that single CSS file can be used to populate various HTML documents. Like single CSS file can be used in various HTML pages. Okay, so that's why this is the advantage of this method. So that's why you should consider external CSS. Okay, I think you got my point. So now let's see the next question of our row. Okay, so the next question that we have is, what methods can be used to reduce page loading time? This is one of the most widely asked question. Like so many students get confused in this question, like what to answer and what are the main basic points that I can make, because there are some complex answers also for this question, but you should avoid those complex answers. Instead you should go with simple answers, because if you will answer complex ways, then you will be cross questioned about them, so that might take you into the trouble. So that's why you should consider some basic methods that you can use to reduce page loading time. So now let's see what basic methods that we have. So the first and foremost method is external CSS. So we should avoid internal and inline CSS. We should use external CSS in your web projects, because external CSS is used to define a style that can be used in across multiple pages. Actually this line is defining how and what is the use of external CSS. Okay, so you can use this external CSS and you can reduce images, like you can reduce the size of images, that the images you are using in your website, you can reduce their size by compressing them. Okay, so this is the one of the way by which your bandwidth will be re- uh, reduced, and your page will load faster. Okay. So the next method is enabling caching in your browser. Enable caching in your browser to store copies of your site's file. So suppose a single image is being loaded again and again. So in that case, the cache should find that image in your browser so that it is not loaded again and again. It will help to reduce the page loading time. Okay. I think you might have already heard of what is caching. Okay. In simple words, I will say caching is nothing but storing the data temporarily so that it can be reused again and again. Okay. So now let's see the next method that we have. Next method we have is reduce CSS loading. Okay. Here you can see the line is stating that minimize inline CSS styles, minimize inline CSS styles, and keep commonly used CSS rules together in external style sheets. So this is the same line, almost same line of about first point. Okay. So it is stating that you should try to use external CSS and you should avoid inline CSS. Okay. So that your page loading time can be reduced. And the next method we have is reduce redirects. Reduce the number of redirects on your website to decrease the amount of time it takes for a page to load. Okay. Somehow, if you use so many redirects, it will increase the time. So you should avoid it. Okay. So now let's see some more method that we can have. Reduce cookies. Reduce the number of cookies used in your website to decrease the amount of data that needs to be loaded. So you should always try to use cookies for uh, authorization data only. Suppose you are making a web project in which you are making some access tokens and all. So then you should keep those access tokens in your cookies only, and you should not add redundant data in your cookies. Okay, so you should consider this point. So the next point we have is optimize images. As I said, you can reduce the size of images by compressing them so that you should have less loading time. Okay, compress and optimize content. You can actually bundle your data together so that you can easily compress it and optimize it. Okay, so you should try to bundle your files together to reduce the page loading time. Put style sheet references at the top. Okay, so yeah, one thing that you should consider is put style sheet references at the top of your HTML document so that the amount of time is reduced while the page is being loaded. Okay, this is the one of the main point that you should consider. So the next question we have is what methods can be used to decrease page loading time? Oh, actually it is a repeat. In this particular page, we are actually want to display the importance of pagination. Okay, so pagination is the process of dividing a document or content into separate pages. So suppose you have a long data. Okay, in that long data, suppose you have hundreds or thousands of items. So in one go, you should render only 50 or 100 items at once, and rest of the items can be shown in the next pages. So you might have seen this kind of things like page 1, page 2, page 3, rest all. Okay, so this is the concept of pagination. Okay, pagination is used to improve user experience and make navigation easier. Okay, so simply you can divide your data into various pages so that only the limited relevant data can be loaded at once, so that unnecessary loading can be avoided. Okay, so that our page looks cleaner. That's why we use pagination. Also, pagination can be easily implemented by using the query parameter. Like suppose you can handle queries of page number in your backend. Okay, like page equals to n, like page equals to 1, 2, or 3. You can handle this query in your backend. Okay, and you can link your paginated URLs to each other so that easy navigation from one page to another can be occurred. And you should ensure that pages are ordered properly. And you can use Bootstrap or JavaScript or HTML, CSS to create pagination. Like this kind of thing, you can use Bootstrap to display it. Okay. So this is the all about pagination. Okay. This is one of the most important method that you can say to reduce page loading time. Okay. So these are some important questions that are asked in interviews in 2023. So you can consider these questions and you can explore more about them so that you will not stuck in your interviews. So all the best for your interviews, and this is it for this video. Hope to see you next in the next video. Okay. Thank you guys.